About class last night, but I hope this kept everyone a little more off the roads, and I hope you got the message before you had to drive to West. If not, I still feel like it was the right decision given some of the issues with the roads out to the west of Tulsa, but do let me know if you have any questions there. You still have assignments due on Saturday, so it's your oral history summary and analysis, but I wanted to just talk for a couple of minutes about what an oral history is. So you should read over the assignment sheet that I gave, because I think I give quite a bit of information about oral histories there, but to sum up, oral histories, for our purposes, are specific types of audio recordings. They're a specific type of primary source. So I'm going to step back for 1 second and talk about primary sources. So remember right now, these couple of weeks, we're trying to deal with primary sources, how they're made, how we use them, how we assess them, and how we preserve them. Primary sources are first-hand accounts of things that are created or used by the person in the immediate moment. So things like photographs, diaries, journals, movies, novels, poems, songs, letters, tax records, clothes. All of these can be primary sources because you can analyze them, but they're of a specific moment. Oral histories are a type of primary source, but there's primary source that focuses on audio and on people's voices and the stories they can tell about their own lives in their own voices. So if you were to Google oral history, some of the things that come up are a kind of loose interpretation of the official academic definition of oral history. Sometimes they're used for just like any kind of interview where someone's talking about their life, and that's not what we're looking for. An oral history is a recorded narrative based on an interview, a recorded interview of someone giving a narrative account of either their life or a specific experience in their life. So, for example, there's a lot of oral histories about the Holocaust. There's 9/11 oral histories. There are oral histories collected by Oklahoma State where it's like people who have turned 100 in Oklahoma. So they go out, they interview all the people who've turned 100, ask them to give an account of their life, tell their life story. They record that interview. And the interviews are done by a specific person trained in oral history narratives. They're recorded and then they're preserved at like a historical location, like a library or a university or some kind of historically oriented archive. And an archive is a place where a lot of material is kept. So like the National Archives are where we keep the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, that kind of thing. So for our purposes, you need to choose an oral history that's a recorded narrative interview based on some kind of historical experience. The oral history needs to be at least 20 minutes long. If you choose an oral history that is shorter than that, like the 9/11 oral histories, then you need to choose 2 or 3 of them to get it up to the 20 minutes. It needs to be recorded, so there needs to be a strong audio component of the oral history. The one exception I'll make is if the oral histories are older and you just can't access the audio, but there's a transcript of the audio. But the audio has to be the real basis of the source. Sometimes the audio just hasn't been digitized yet. So there's all of these audio recordings at all these libraries, but not everything has made it onto the internet. So sometimes there'll just be a transcript. On some of the links I gave you on the assignment sheet, I've tried to specify which has audio and which has a transcript. So look that over. I'm going to send around a couple other links to OSU and I think to 9/11 that might not be on there. But choose an oral history that's 20 minutes long, that has an audio that you can listen to, that's from a historically oriented archive like Oklahoma State or like the Holocaust Memorial, the 9/11 Memorial. And then you need to do a summary and analysis based on the assignment sheet that I passed out. So the goals with the assignment are to, first of all, think about how do you summarize primary information, because oral histories can be kind of messy. They don't follow the specific order that, say, an academic article will. So how do you kind of summarize material that might be all over the place and might be kind of large and vast? So you're going to work on summarizing it, but you also want to analyze it. You want to think, okay, how do I think about the credibility of this source? Because on the one hand, primary sources are authentic because they're of a specific time. It's someone's eyewitness account and they get to speak authentically about their own experience. But at the same time, first-hand accounts are just notoriously unreliable in that you can't see things from every perspective when you're only looking from your own. And you can't give an account of something from other people's perspective. And so you're only getting one narrow slice of an event. For example, if I asked people what was our class like last Tuesday, if I talked to one person, that would only be one person's account. And it's not that it wouldn't be true, it's just if I wanted to know what the whole class was like, I would really need to talk to everyone in the class. The same is true for oral histories. They're powerful, they're engaging, but you need a lot of them before you can make an overall generalization about anything that's happened. So we're going to kind of think about the ways in which we start to weigh that credibility, and also think about what you're listening to in an oral history besides just the words that someone's saying. You want to think about, does emotion come through differently? What does their voice sound like? How do you learn things about them through the sound of their voice that you might not pick up on just through the content of their words alone? What role does the interviewer play in all these? That's another important part of oral history, is thinking about, is the interviewer conducive to the interview? Are they leaving things out? Are they putting words in the mouth of someone? So it's a kind of subjective experience that you really want to pay attention to all of the dynamics. So that's going to be the assignment for Saturday. You need to follow the instruction sheet and then copy and paste it into the discussion board. You'll need to respond to your peers' posts by next Tuesday, and then there's another writing assignment for next Tuesday. Because after we look at this one particular type of primary source, next week we're going to start thinking about how people use primary sources and making a larger analysis of some kind of phenomenon. So for this weekend, focus on the primary source. Next week, let's start thinking about how do you go from primary source to argument. Definitely email me if you have any questions, and I'll be sending out some reminders about the assignments as they're coming up, and then we'll just plan on meeting back next Tuesday. Okay, hope everybody stayed safe. Take care.